Now that we've seen the commutative property, just like we saw with addition, now we see the associative property, okay? So yeah, you can multiply two values wherever you feel is the most convenient, right? Like, and this is kind of, it's better application. If you say A times B times C, if you wanted to, for some reason, do B times C first, I mean, you could rearrange it and then say, okay, I'm gonna work with B and C using the commutative property, but if you want just to use the associative property, you could do that as well. And again, this is strictly with multiplication, right? Of course, it does work with addition as well, but you should see this. If you see only multiplication being used and you wanted to do that, you could. Or like the second example, if you see A times B times C, if you want to do A times B first, you can. All right, and the parentheses, not that we've gone over this yet, but the parentheses are a huge deal because when you see parentheses in a math problem, it generally indicates that you need to do that first. But like we see between these, like if you were to equate these two, you could. So if something told you to do B times C first and you wanted to do A times B first, you could do that as well. And just like the commutative property of multiplication, the associative property only applies to multiplication. So there is no associative property for division. So yeah, I know we saw an example like this for commutative. So we're looking at the associative property now for multiplication, and just looking at this one, hopefully, and there should be some analysis going on. If you have a lot of experience on this stuff, you may not need as much time to look at these, but we can see this top example. Let's just go through these. I'll go through these, just going downward. 8 times 6 equals 6 times 8. So the order changed on that. It was 8 and then a 6, and then a 6 and an 8. So this one is the commutative property. That's not what we want. We want the associative property right now. 8 times 0, that would be the multiplied by 0 property, or there's probably a better name for that, but that's what I'll say for now. 8 times 0, 0. It's true. It's just that's not the associative property, right? And yeah, just like we saw with addition, the associative property should involve some parentheses somewhere, okay? So in this next example, we see a parentheses, and yeah, there's the only one we do see it. So you could say just by seeing the parentheses, you know this is the associative property. But another thing about the associative property is it will not change order. So here we have 8 times 4 and then 9. And over here it's 8 and 4 times 9. So the order doesn't change with the associative property. And we don't see the order change, but in addition to that, we see the parentheses around the 8 and 4 first, and then the 4 and 9 second. So yeah, and the location of the parentheses can change. That's what makes it the associative property. And, it's just like the example that was given, I think it was in this class, right? You could say, well, if you wanted to associate, right, or look at the 8 and 4 as friends first, you could. But if you were the 4, for example, and you were in between and you wanted to go to the 9 first, you could do that and talk with them. I may be mischaracterizing the example that one of you guys gave, but hopefully that kind of works as well. So this is the associative property. And yeah, just to look at this last one, this is the identity property of multiplication right there because it's multiplied by 1. And so if you wanted to, you could make that a phantom 1 if you'd like.